All right. Exercise Coolandong is the largest exercise that MRF-D participates in throughout the course of the deployment down here. MRF-D serves as kind of the right bookend to the kinds of scenarios and spectrum of operations that we need to be prepared to conduct. And as an example of that, we start off the rotation working on most likely kinds of scenarios that we'll face: humanitarian assistance, disaster relief. And over the course of the deployment, we work on the more high-end skills with our Australian partners. And Exercise Coolandong is the opportunity to come down, get out in the field, and demonstrate the tangible tactics, techniques, and procedures that we would use were we to operate together in a high-end warfighting environment. As everybody knows, the COVID-19 pandemic has kind of thrown a wrench in daily life and operations around the world for the last couple of years, and this rotation has been no different. However, I think based on the template that we followed last year, or that we established last year, that allowed the rotation to happen at all, we took that template of success, built on it, and expanded it. And so I think that our staff was well drilled in making sure that we were prepared to respond to whatever developments happened in the COVID space. And with full respect for the NT government and health officials' guidance, we were able to adjust the plan and still execute this safely. I would say it's impacted it a little bit. It obviously has forced some different planning considerations, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it's actually been useful for us, because it's forced some real-world, unplanned, dynamic planning into the process, and it's demonstrated that we can take whatever comes at us, plan around it, and continue to operate. I think it's been a success on many levels. The primary goal of this exercise and the primary goal of our deployment has been to demonstrate the strength of the U.S.-Australian alliance that, as everybody probably knows, is in its 70th year this year. And I don't think there's a better example of that alliance and the strength of that alliance than what we've done here over the last 3 weeks. We've been able to composite forces on the U.S. side from across the Pacific that have never worked together before, bring them down here in a COVID environment safely and in accordance with government guidelines, conduct training with our Australian partners who mass forces from across Australia, and come out here to this remote training area and execute these kinds of high-end operations in a combined setting. So at the unit-to-unit level, we've had just success after success as our Australian and U.S. Units combine at the small unit level to conduct combined operations, all the way up to the combined task force level. I think it's allowed us to streamline our policies and procedures in a number of places, including information sharing, aviation operations planning, fires planning, and probably most importantly, combined staff planning and execution of high-end operations. Yeah, that's a good question about challenges, and I think that I think the biggest challenges of the exercise were those we built for ourselves, because as you know, the Marine Corps is a light force already and getting lighter, and so we wanted to test some of the different types of concepts that we would need to employ given a Force Design 30 construct and in line with the direction that the Commandant has charted for the Marine Corps to go. And so we made Bradshaw Training Area an island and deployed from Darwin. So 600 kilometers away. We had to plan very thoroughly, because everything that we had down here is what we brought with us. We integrated our capabilities with our Australian counterparts. The capabilities that we had were complementary to their capabilities and vice versa. And this allowed us to identify some of the challenges, as well as to validate some of the assumptions that, given the fact that we can't have all the capabilities, how would we integrate those capabilities with a partner nation should the situation require it? And we demonstrated that, I think, very successfully out here. The other challenge, I think, operating in an environment like this is clearly one of safety. Because we are so isolated, because this is so remote, We spent a lot of time thinking about how to conduct this operation safely, to include making sure that we had appropriate risk mitigation measures, medevac helicopters on standby, deployment of a deployable field hospital from the United States Navy to deploy forward down here to make sure that we had any possible contingency covered should the need arise. So I think those challenges were all successfully overcome thanks to the hard work of all the soldiers, all the Marines, all the sailors that have been participating out here. And personally, I couldn't be prouder of them. I think one of the most notable things is I don't think that there has been an exercise with MRF-D at this scale throughout its history. And so the commitment that the ADF and 1st Brigade and Brigadier Collingburn brought to the table in terms of bringing forces down here and all the staff planning and effort that required, I think is really the key thing that allowed this to happen. And I would be remiss if I also did not mention how grateful we are to the traditional owners of this land. Being down here over the last 3 weeks, this is incredible country. It's very easy for me to see why people have such strong feelings about it, and I share those feelings. And I think that we are all very grateful for the hospitality and the chance to share this country, and I would like to thank them personally for that. I don't think there is any more tangible demonstration that we could make, because what we are doing is putting America's sons and daughters in a forward deployed location with a partner nation to work on the kinds of things that we would need to be able to do should the situation call for it. The U.S. Marine Corps and Australia have a long history dating back to World War II. It's, I think, a very emotional connection for the Marine Corps, and this provides a tremendous opportunity for us to strengthen that legacy, to continue to build on it, and make sure that the Australian-U.S. alliance remains a cornerstone for stability in the Western Pacific for decades to come. Well, I can say from personal experience that you don't get to choose when and where you go and what you get assigned to do. You just have to be prepared. And that's our responsibility as military leaders, is to make sure that our forces are prepared so that when the time comes, they have the skills, the techniques, the procedures, and the resilience to meet those challenges successfully. And I can very confidently say that I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about the ability of the Marines, sailors, and soldiers of this unit to rise to whatever occasion emerges, presents itself, and I would have no hesitation whatsoever operating in any kind of environment in the future. Now, other than, again, just to reiterate how proud I am of the Marines and sailors and soldiers for their work here over the course of the last 3 weeks. It's been a tremendous amount of effort. I wish I could personally show the audience what that looks like and show people the enthusiasm of the Marines and sailors and soldiers as they're out there in these harsh, austere conditions. And it just demonstrates the quality of people we have in our organizations, and makes me very thankful and very humble to be a part of it.